You're listening to Heels on the Diamond, presented by Heels on Franklin. If this episode hits the mark, do us a favor, like it, drop a comment, and share it with a friend. That kind of support keeps the podcast rolling. You can find all episodes on the Heels on Franklin YouTube channel and on Spotify. So whether you like watching or listening, we've got you covered. Let's get into it.
Welcome into a fresh new episode of Heels on the Diamond. I am your co-host, Chris Smith, and I got my guy Andrew with me. As always, this episode is presented by Heels on Franklin. I want to go ahead and just get into one thing that we have not shared in a while. If you are looking for some game day gear, whether it be for Carolina softball or Carolina baseball right now, or some of the amazing Olympic sports that are going on right now that are starting to dwindle down, getting into ACC play and NCAA play here shortly, you can always get great game day gear over at Tailgate on Franklin Street. It's Tailgate by Shrunken Head. You can use the code TARPITPOD and get 15% off your whole order. TARPITPOD, 15% off your whole order. You can do that online or in store. Awesome people over there. They've been there. I think they were the first local store there on Franklin Street. They've seen quite a few Russian the Franklin Street times when they've won the national championship in basketball. But go over there. Use the code TARPITPOD to get 15% off your whole order. Andrew, how we doing, my guy?
I'm good. Fun weekend. So I'm excited to get in here and talk about it.
Yeah, fun weekend for sure. Carolina gets the series. Carolina baseball gets the series win at home versus Georgia Tech. Man, I gotta say that video that they put out, that video they put out was straight fire.
Yes, yeah. So Darren Vaught got clipped, and I think Darren Vaught's fantastic.
Yep.
A few other guys, they clipped Danny Graves from ACC Network. I'm a big Danny Graves fan. Well, I did quote tweet it, and I was just joking, having a good time, and he didn't take it.
Holy smokes,
like that. Dude! He ripped into me, and I'm like, dude, relax. I'm just having fun.
Do not tell people how to think, Andrew.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, if you get clipped, like you got to have fun with it. So I don't know if he was mad that he got clipped, or if I sent him over the edge. But I'm like, dude, just relax. It's okay. But it's all good. I still love Danny Graves.
And we'll talk about this shortly. While I am not worthy to be clipped for a video like that quite yet, I will say quite yet, hopefully, because we're always working to, be better and grow. I think I could have been clipped. I had said that I was, both of us, not Maddie. Shout out to Maddie. I sent her a text and just said ball knower, and she put a fire. I think she did the fire reaction. I got a Rev in the comments. What hat is that, brethren? I was wondering if people would. I think this is the first show I've ever not worn a UNC hat. This is how do you say it? Vuori hat. The clothing company is kind of like
the clothing brand.
Yeah, it's kind of like Lululemon. I was out covering the game for softball and had my media credentials on, so I can't wear UNC gear for things like that. So I
do have a question. I saw you in the video you posted on IG. I saw that shirt you have on, but I couldn't make out what's on the shirt.
Yeah, it's a baseball shirt. Yep, it's just got a baseball guy, a baseball, a glove, a bat, a flag, in a baseball stadium. So no UNC in there.
Gotcha. There you go. Yeah, I'm rocking just the Carolina blue. And I guess this is gray, maybe faded black, Peter Millar. $5 Goodwill pickup because I'm not paying Peter Millar prices.
Yeah, neither am I. Well, look, man, it's good to be with you tonight. We appreciate everybody hopping in with us. 30 minutes past our usual start time. So, Rev, I'm hoping that you definitely get some good old rest there. I saw your comment, Devin. It's good to see you. She says, "Good evening, fellas. What a series by the Heels. We sure made their pitching look pretty average." Yeah, great series. We're going to get into that. Rev talking about my hats, that's kind of similar to Lululemon. He says above my pay grade, and then big brain Mads for sure. So the reason why we pushed it back is because tonight was the last game for Carolina softball at home, and I just felt like that I I do try to go to all the games, of course, and try to do post game sometimes. Try to give Coach some time back as well, and not do all of them since we have her for the coaches show. But wasn't able to cover the post game today because they went into the 8th inning and I had to get out of there. So I got home, came straight in here to jump on with you. But we'll get to that in this in the softball segment that we're going to do here at the end. Andrew, let's go ahead and dive in. Game 1, Carolina wins 5-2 behind the arm of Jason DeCaro. He looked fantastic. 5 innings pitched, only 1 ERA there, 5 hits, 4 Ks, 2 walks, and 1 hit by pitch. Kind of give me your whole game overview pretty briefly so we can get to our Duke to our Duke preview for tonight.
Yeah, we said last week that for Carolina to have a chance to win the series, DeCaro had to have a bounce back game. 2 rough starts in a row over the last couple of weeks, but he came in and he was vintage Jason DeCaro. Jason DeCaro is never that guy who is going to, get 9, 10, 11 strikeouts, but he's going to be efficient. And that's exactly what he was. He kept his pitch count low. 5 innings. I did think he got pulled a little early, but I kind of wonder if maybe Forbes was thinking, hey, after 2 rough starts, we want to kind of get him, off on a high note. And so when he got into a little trouble there in the 6th, they went ahead and pulled him to kind of keep his confidence up. But he was fantastic, like 2 walks, 1 hit by pitch. So much better command than he's had the 2 weeks prior. He did have he got in some trouble in the 4th inning, but he was masterful in getting out of it. He had runners on 2nd and 3rd, 1 out, and he just struck out 2 in a row. So 2 of his 4 Ks came there in the 4th inning. Glauber came in up 5-0. I think that was a sign of respect to Georgia Tech's offense that you bring in your best reliever in a 5-0 ball game, and he went 3 innings pitched, only allowed 1 run. Got into a little bit of trouble with his command, but then McDuffie came in and closed the door. So pitching was great. Hitting-wise, they gave Georgia Tech a little bit of their own medicine. They had, I think it was it 2 or 3 homers? I know Paulson hit 1, Macon hit 1. Mm-hmm. So they gave Georgia Tech, a little bit. They showed some power. And if you had told me before the week that one team would have 6 homers in this series and one team would have 1, I would have said Georgia Tech was a team with 6. But I'm happy to be wrong. So great game from the offense, or they did enough, and then great from the pitching to take game 1 and really take command of the series.
Yeah, and I believe Carolina had the kill shot in both game 1 and game 2 there in the first, right?
Yeah, and if you don't know what kill shot is, so we look at pair ratings a lot, and that is when you score 2 or more runs in an inning and then hold your opponent scoreless. So both in the first 2 games, they had kill shots early on.
Yeah, and actually Georgia Tech's been really great in that category, I believe, in the kill shot. Don't hold me to that, but I can't quite remember, but I think they've been pretty good in that. I mean, Jake Schaffner in game 1 goes 3 for 4 with a double and 1 walk. I mean, what a game for him. Just overall, I was very, very pleased by the play throughout the whole series, really. I mean, even though game 3, Carolina dropped game 3, I think there was some great takeaways that from game 3. It wasn't a total bust, but game 2, UNC wins 14-4. I mean, in 8 innings. I did not have it on our bingo card going into this game that we would run rule Georgia Tech. So Andrew, overall, what did you see from them? I mean, Ryan Lynch, overall, I think had a pretty good outing here with 4.2 in his pitch. He did have 3 earned runs, 1 hit, 3 Ks, 4 walks, and 1 hit by pitch. I'm sorry, that's Walker McDuffie's numbers. My bad. So 4.2 innings pitched there, 3 earned runs, 7 hits, 2 Ks, and 2 walks. But overall, kind of what did you see from Carolina in game 2?
Yeah, so Lynch, yet again, had a little bit of an issue keeping his pitch count low. We talked last week of DeCaro's walking a lot. Lynch is walking a few, but for him, it's more he's getting into a lot of 3-2 counts, not getting that put-away pitch. So he still had a few issues there, but for the most part, he was solid. McDuffie comes in, like you said, 3 innings pitch, only allows 1. 5th inning, Carolina had they allowed 2 runs. So that was really the only sticky situation they got into because they jumped on Georgia Tech early on. I mean, it was Owen Hull busted that thing wide open, and I think it was the third inning with his grand slam. Going back to our guy Danny Graves, who said that Owen Hull hits like a Judy, whatever that means. I don't think that was a Judy grand slam. So Owen Hull busted that game wide open, and the offense did fantastic to the point where the pitching didn't really have to stress much. So great job from Lynch, great job from McDuffie, but the bats are the real story here in game two. Like you said, run ruling Georgia Tech. That's a team who has run ruled teams left and right all season. So again, just like game one, kind of a dose of their own medicine a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, shout out to Maddie. I mean, she called it perfectly, right? She said that she was going to, go with Carolina at least winning 2 games in this series, and most for the reason why is that she felt that Georgia Tech had not faced the type of pitching that Carolina has. I mean, I was a little shaky. I was a little bit not losing hope or losing faith, but losing a little bit of confidence in pitching a little bit kind of early on in the season with some of the struggles that we were seeing out of the bullpen. And but I mean, they're it seems like this team overall is putting things together at the right time. I mean, hitting, pitching, all at the right time is going off all at the right time, like I said. But game 3 was kind of a different story. Well, let me go back to game 2. I mean, Owen Hall, 2 for 3 there, like you mentioned, with a grand slam, 6 RBIs, 1 walk, 1 K. Macon Winslow goes 1 for 4 with another home run, 2 RBIs, 1 walk, 2 Ks. And then Cooper Nicholson, I mean, just seeing the ball seems like better and better, right? 2 for 3, 1 home run, 1 double, 1 RBI, and 2 walks. So, I mean, to get the hottest offense or one of the best offense in college baseball run ruled in 8 innings, even though it's shy of 1 inning of 9, to run rule them, yes, we were at home, but I mean, that could only count for so much, right? So, I was late getting out of there Saturday. Was it Saturday or Sunday? I can't remember what game it was, but those Georgia Tech players, they seem to have their heads down coming back through, because they come back through the stands to get to their bus. Yeah. But game 3, let's talk about game 3, a little bit of a different story there. Carolina falls 2-5. Folger Boaz was a little shaky pretty early on. Only 2.2 innings pitched by him, 3 earned runs, 5 hits, 3 Ks, 4 walks. Andrew, kind of give me your overall thoughts here.
Yeah, it was a loss, and you're never happy about a loss. But even though you still lost the game, there was a lot that Carolina did that at the end of the day, I'm like, the loss is no fun, but I was happy about. And it focuses mainly on pitching. Mateus came in, went 2.1 innings pitched, only allowed 1 run. That run was he kind of got unlucky. I think that's the ball that landed just fair, and Georgia Tech scored a run. So a little bit unlucky there, but he needed a good bounce back game, and he got that. Jackson Rose comes in, goes almost 3 innings, only allows 1 hit. He continues to be just fantastic. And then Seagraves came in. Cam Seagraves, another guy who over his last couple outings has really struggled, and he goes 1.1 innings pitched, has no hits, obviously no earned runs, and 2 Ks. And he became, I saw this stat yesterday, I think it was, he was the first pitcher to, and I need to double check this, but something along the lines of the first pitcher in college baseball this year to face both Drew Burress and Von Lackey in the same inning and strike out both. Wow. So very impressive outing from Seagraves. And I think moving forward, when you think ahead to the NCAA tournament, hopefully Omaha, Carolina needs a consistent arm out of the pen beyond McDuffie and Glauber. I think for this team to really take that next step and really make a run at hopefully a national championship, you need a Mateus to be consistent, or a Rose to continue to be consistent, or a Seagraves or Flannery, but you need another arm out of the bullpen to really give you some big time clutch innings. And so I think Forbes has got it down to about 3 or 4 guys that he's really starting to trust between Mateus, Rose, Seagraves, and I'm hoping they continue to take that next step forward.
I mean, outside of Mateus, I mean, it's really and Walker McDuffie, even though he's quite young as well. But I mean, the freshmen are doing so well. I mean, talk a little bit about that, Andrew. Kind of what you're seeing from the freshmen out of the bullpen. Also, you know, Rose gets the ball, you know, sometimes in that midweek game, which is now. Yeah, we'll have another midweek game, which, you know, Carolina's undefeated in so far this year in midweek action. Shout out to you for that quick little stat that you sent me last night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that? Kind of the freshman?
Yeah. So, you know, I was talking last night to somebody, and they said, you know, do you think, because we saw Boaz struggle some, and we talked about this last weekend. But they were like, do you think Glauber may make a start, you know, down the stretch? I actually think Forbes wants Glauber in the bullpen, and I think that if it comes to an ACC championship game or a big regional game, I think Rose is the guy who's more likely to get that start come tournament time. I don't think it's anything of one's better than the other. I think they're both really, really impressive freshmen, but I think Rose, with more starting experience, can be that guy. You want to keep consistency. So you want to keep Glauber comfortable coming out of the pen. Rose has been comfortable kind of in both roles. So I think we may see a Rose getting some starts down the stretch in some big time games. But it's fantastic. Beyond 2026, when you look at next year, the year after, to know, hey, you've got two guys in Jackson Rose and Caden Glauber who you can really rely on over the next couple of years to be kind of key pieces of that pitching staff.
Seagraves, did you mention Seagraves there?
Seagraves too. I mean, you know, he's a sophomore, so he's in that class with McDuffie and Lynch. But Seagraves is still very up and down. But I do think he's a guy that if he can just kind of control his command a little bit, he can be another guy that pitches some big innings late this season and can be an even bigger key next year too.
Yeah, and I mean, to your point about potentially starting a game later in the year, whether that's Rose or Glauber, you know, we saw it in the ACC tournament last year. I think that was Lynch that got the ball in the championship, the last game that secured them the ACC tournament. So you never know. All I know is that the ACC tournament in Charlotte this year, it's in Charlotte this year, right? Yeah. It's gonna be. I mean, if Carolina keeps playing like they're playing, I mean, there's a little bit, you know, left to play with a couple of series left, but the ACC tournament is gonna be amazing. I mean, there's some really good ball clubs, you know, FSU. I think Boston College will be an interesting team to watch in the ACC tournament as well. You know, you never know. You know, even though NC State is missing, you know, I think what is it? They're Friday and Saturday, but they're missing.
Yeah, they're top two
arms. I mean, I think they're a team if they figure it out. You know, they've got the bats to back it up. So I think it's going to be an interesting tournament, definitely when you have, you know, Georgia Tech. You know, who else am I mean, Virginia.
Yeah. There's about 5 or 6 teams that if they won the ACC tournament, I would not be surprised. I mean, you said BC, obviously Florida State, obviously Georgia Tech. Yeah, like you said, even NC State, you know, they've battled a ton of injuries, but if they with their offense, if they can get some consistency from the pitching, they're a threat. So yeah, there's 5 or 6 teams that can really make some noise and have a legitimate chance come, you know, what is it, late May, early June, whenever the ACC tournament is.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and wrap this up by sharing the MVPs and how we do this time. Instead of doing graphics, we just go to our new website, which is heelsonfranklin.com. Be sure to check it out. But look, let's go over your MVPs. Give me 1 second. Let me switch that. And so I kind of can show you really quick what's this like. We're going to start, you know, getting more articles up here. Hopefully, you know, some of the hosts and things, I've talked to Andrew about it. I've talked to Jeff about it. You know, whatever sport they want to write, that we can just potentially get into a regular rhythm about starting to put articles up here and grow that area as well. But on our articles and news page, you can just come right here. And as you see, it kind of talks a little bit about how Andrew chooses his MVPs for each weekend series. And so let's go ahead and talk about this very briefly. Jake Schaffner, 6 for 10 throughout the series. You know, average of 600, which is insane. You know, 1 double, 5 walks, 1 stolen base. Andrew kind of walk me through this a little bit.
Yeah, what makes Schaffner so good is he has a great blend of he's got some power, but he's able to hit it all over the field. I mean, you can't put a shift on the guy. He's kind of a spray hitter, hits it all over the park. But he's got such good plate discipline. I mean, like I said, like you said, 5 walks. This is a guy that, and I don't want to keep comparing it to Kane Kepley, but that's who he reminds me of. Just a guy who doesn't blow you away by anything, but it seems like you at the end of the game, you look at the box score and you're like, holy cow, he was on base 3 times, 4 times, sometimes even more than that. So this is a guy that is just your prototypical leadoff guy. And if you go back to the Georgia Tech series, in all 3 games, he got on base in the first inning and he scored in all 3 games. So he's a guy that when he gets on base can cause chaos and can really get into the opposing pitchers' heads, which I think is what he did really in all 3 games against Georgia Tech.
Yeah, and then switching over there to Owen Hall, 4 for 11, which it's always interesting when I see an average of 364. It looks really good, but then when I really think about the numbers, like 411, I'm like, that's it, But I mean, I know the math's correct, but it just still feels like this should be more, right? But I think for Owen Hall, it really comes down to, when his hits were made, right? I mean, that grand slam that he had was clutch. No Judy moment there. 1 double, 8 RBIs and 2 walks and 1 stolen base. I mean, what a gamer. I mean, just, gosh, we're so lucky to have him.
Yeah. He was a guy early on in the season. I was getting DMs from some people on Twitter, and they're like, hey, I thought this guy was like a 367 hitter at George Mason last year. Like, what's going on? Really, the first 3-4 weeks of the season, he was struggling. And I think at the Lemoyne series, he was hitting like 250. And so people were like, what's going on? But he's been Carolina's best and most consistent hitter since then. 364 on the weekend. But if you look at last week's midweek game and you add all that together, he was 500 for the entire week. But that grand slam was the play of the entire series. At that point, Georgia Tech was only down 3-0. For them, that's nothing at all. And then he hits that grand slam to go up 7-0. And you could almost just feel the air come out of Georgia Tech. It's almost like that Carolina beat them by 3 like yesterday, and then they come out again today, and it's immediately they're up 7-0. And Georgia Tech has not faced that or had that type of adversity all season long. So that really, if you look at one play for this entire season, that was kind of like a wake-up call for the national media, for folks who maybe don't really follow Carolina baseball all that closely. You see that play and you're like, man, like this Carolina team is legit. And you can point back to that play for being, I think, kind of the catalyst that won the series for Carolina and really got them in that discussion of upper echelon of teams to potentially win it all.
Yeah, and those averages that you were talking about, I have them right here with the good notes that you do for every week. And then I know if you're a normal listener, of this show, that we track since the Lemoyne series and then, post BC and then post Georgia Tech. So the average for Owen Hall post the Lemoyne series was 250. Yeah. And then post BC was 355. And then post Georgia Tech, he's hitting 390.
Yeah. I mean, and you're into the meat of the schedule in conference play when you're playing harder teams more consistently, and his average and his OBP continue to climb. So it's just he's not only one of the best hitters in the ACC, he's really one of the best hitters in the country. Doesn't matter what the count is, 0-2, 3-1. He has the same, calm demeanor regardless of what the count is, and he's just a really hard guy to get out for opposing pitchers.
Yeah, for sure. And then, of course, like you can kind of go here on the articles we pull at least, one video. I think this is the Grand Slam here. So,
and it was a no-doubter too. I mean, off the bat, I stood up because it was gone off the bat. You knew there was no way that was staying in the Bosch.
Yeah, and of course, all this footage is, from the ACC network and ESPN as accredited right there in the bottom left-hand corner. Let's go ahead and talk about Jason DeCaro, 5 innings pitched there in game 1. Overall, what did you see from DeCaro?
he just seemed back to his old confident self. Now, I feel like DeCaro's a guy, he's young, and we sometimes forget that he's been pitching really well for Carolina for 3 years now. I mean, he came out freshman year, was really good. Last year, he kind of got overshadowed a bit by Jake Knapp, but he was still fantastic. And this year's been up and down, but this was a vintage Jason DeCaro game. Again, he's never going to blow you away with a ton of strikeouts, but he gets the outs when he needs to. He pitches to soft contact, and he really set the tone for Carolina early on, along with a couple key hits there in the first couple of innings that really showed Georgia Tech, like, hey, regardless of what happens Saturday and Sunday, you're in for a dogfight. And I think not only did that shock Georgia Tech a little bit, it shocked kind of, as you see with the video that Carolina baseball created, that it shocked some of the national guys. So, again, he set the tone for a series that really kind of alerted everybody out there that this Carolina team is a real threat to dogpile the mound in Omaha the second week in June.
Yeah, and just paused it here because here's Jeff right here in this video.
I noticed that, yeah.
Here's David, this guy right here. I know him. I've tailgated with him, I think last year before the practice day, like a day event for football. And then this guy right here, I don't know his name, but I sit near him in women's basketball. He's a pretty funny guy, but he is like at all the big time events. I think you got some sirens going on, man, outside your house.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, this old house of mine that you can hear everything that drives by.
Yeah, so how we break it down, post game reactions, we put them here for if you want to look at the post game, comments from coach and the players. We weren't able to make it for game 1, but game 2 and game 3 we have, and then we kind of talk about how you can find us. So there's that. I want to get to Devin's comment before I transition. She said Jake made some great plays on defense. I don't remember which game it was, but he made a fantastic play, the first double play. He did the exact thing last night. Yeah, great, fantastic defense all overall. And Rev follows it up with a preach, Devin. I wanted to highlight this one play from last night's win over.
Oh, I know exactly where you're going with this one. I will say, while you're pulling that up with the defense, it seemed like every time Georgia Tech was threatening, Carolina got a huge double play or a huge out. And it's Carolina's tops in the ACC in fielding. There's a reason why Nicholson and Gallagher are, tops in the ACC in runs saved. And I think defensively, Schaffner's the best shortstop in the ACC. So it's got to feel good for pitchers to know, hey, if I make a mistake, I got guys behind me that can pick me up.
Yeah, and I mean, talk about guys that can pick you up. I mean, this play right here by Carter French is just unbelievable. Yeah. Oh, God dang.
I will say, and I'm sure he and Forbes had a conversation afterwards. Look, I love the hustle. And Forbes mentioned post-game last night that that's just how Carter French is. It doesn't matter the situation. He's going all out every time he steps on the field. But when you're up 9-2 in the 9th inning, maybe just let that one drop foul. Again, look, fantastic play, but we don't need you getting a concussion. Like, just be careful, please.
I know, I hear you, bro, but I know you played high school sports, and I played high school sports, and any gamer will tell you that that's not in the back of your mind.
No, not at all. Yeah, from a fan's perspective, I'm like, just don't get hurt. But yeah, you're right, man. Because I played multiple sports in high school and growing up, and worrying about getting hurt was never on my mind. I was always like, hey, 110% every time I stepped on the field, the court, the mat, whatever it was.
And so I have to share this. I think this may be it because there was a play in tonight's game that was a Carter French meet Sanaya Thompson. Not sure if this is it, but let's see. I don't know if y'all have seen this play yet. How crazy is that? I mean, I believe she hits her head on the padding there, which was
pops right up.
And she said, I think bases were you had a runner on first and second in this scenario, and South Carolina was up 6-3. But I mean, just watch this again of how similar of like diving catches and heads hitting the padding. But Carter French meets Sanaya Thompson moment. Let's just watch it. Just unbelievable. Baller.
And she's made a handful of plays like that. I mean, I feel like every week they're posting a video on the Carolina softball account of her just making some fantastic play.
I mean, just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Gosh. It's art in motion, brother. And that's Kendall Frost pitching right there. So
we got some good defense in Chapel Hill.
Yeah, let's talk about this real quick. While I have it up. Just want to call, so everybody's getting a back view of our notes.
Look at those
here.
Beautiful notes. Man, whoever puts those together does a fantastic job.
So this right here is quite interesting. To walk us through this very, very briefly as we are at the 33 mark and we need to get to Duke. And I'll preface it, Andrew, you can go in it. We haven't kind of like given this snapshot in quite some time. Before I do this, do us a favor. Our numbers are quite kind of low compared to our usual, maybe because we changed times, but it is what it is. We had to get out there and support Carolina softball tonight as their last home game. Do us a big favor. Give this stream, if you're on Twitter, which is now called X, horrible name, retweet it, like it, throw us a comment like Devin does, Rev does. Let's get some more people in here. If you're over on YouTube, we appreciate you listening. But if you're on Twitter right now, give this stream a retweet. I promise you it goes a long way in supporting this show because we are a grassroots show and we're continuing to try to grow. And we put a lot of time and work into this. And I mean, look at these notes right here that Andrew does. I mean, this is next level. I mean, next level. He's definitely given Trevor a run for his money. And now Jaden's trying to give him a run for his money on the basketball side. But look, post Lemoyne numbers. And we decided post Lemoyne because that's when Carolina was doing a lot of that outside of, before getting into ACC play, I believe it was. And Lemoyne, everybody was getting a hit, it seemed like. I mean, no shade to them, which they're in New York, right? New York with the Dolphins.
Syracuse.
There.
Remember the Dolphins, yeah.
The Dolphins as the mascot. Look, reposted by Rev Blev. Appreciate you, my guy. And so we decided to do it then so we could really track where the averages were throughout the season. So here we are. We'll just rotate, okay, Andrew? Macon Winslow at post Lemoyne was 366, post BCC, post before Christ. Just kidding. Post Boston College, 313, post Georgia Tech. I know Brev is getting a laugh out of that. He's a pastor. Post Georgia Tech, 310. You take Colin Heineck.
Yeah, Heineck post Lemoyne was 350, post Boston College 300, and then after Georgia Tech, he's hitting 260. So he's dropped a little bit. Yeah.
All right. Eric Paulson kind of cooled off a little bit too. And I mean, you expect this as you get into ACC play, but 422 post Lemoyne, post BC, 315, and then 307 post Georgia Tech. I mean, so right there in the 300s. I like that. What you got for Jake Schaffner?
Yeah, Schaffner was 467 after Lemoyne, 331 after BC, 337 after Georgia Tech. So he's gone up a little bit over the last couple of weeks. And again, you expect him to drop some when you're facing stiffer conference competition. But when you got a guy hitting 337, I'll take that all day long.
Yeah, for sure. Devin, I see that quote tweet. We really appreciate that. Look, Cooper Nicholson, 188, 237, and 248 there post Georgia Tech. Oh, I'm just going to go ahead and do Owen Hall if that's okay, Andrew.
Yeah, go ahead.
Owen Hall, 250. I mean, he's a guy that really turned it on throughout the season, which is really good to set. I mean, he's kind of done what some other guys have done, right? While they've cooled down somewhat as they've gotten into ACC play and tougher schedule, he's done the opposite. He's turned it on. 355 post BC, post Georgia Tech, 390. I mean, I understand, I don't really understand. I mean, every at-bat's not going to be a home run in college ball, but to call this dude a Judy, it doesn't make sense, to me. I know we mentioned it a couple of times tonight, but the dude's he was hitting 355 post BC. I mean, what are we talking about? And then post Georgia Tech, 390. I mean, he's completely raking. That's insane.
And getting on base in almost half his at-bats.
From JUCO, right?
No, from George Mason. Nicholson's JUCO. But Nicholson's gotten better. Right? He's gotten more comfortable. He's gotten a lot better. I think after last night against High Point, he's up over 250 now. Leads the team in homers with 10. And his on-base percentage is 444. So he gets hit a lot. He walks a lot. So Nicholson's that guy that as the season's progressed, he's gotten more and more confidence.
Yeah, and Owen Holt, do you think he goes after this year?
I could see it. I was talking to somebody Saturday, and I said he's got fantastic size for the MLB. He's about 6'4", can probably put on a tad bit more muscle, but he's got size that the MLB scouts are going to salivate over. So you got a guy who's hitting almost 400, getting on base at almost a 500 clip. It wouldn't shock me if he goes pro, especially with the way the MLB draft is. And when you come back for your senior season, unfortunately, you lose a lot of that leverage. So it wouldn't shock me if he goes pro. I hope I'm wrong, but it wouldn't shock me.
Rev is trying to be the mediator here. Judy isn't terribly an insult, as it's just kind of like a SB slapper. But again, dude didn't dive into the RBI or slug numbers. Also, I like this. Let's talk about Gavin Gallagher here. 271, 279, and 272 there post Georgia Tech. And Rev says, I need Gavin to find a bat he likes. And if you don't know what that's referring to, over the past month, I didn't really notice it early on in the year. I could be wrong there. Rev, correct me if I'm wrong, or Andrew, that as you're right here on the screen with me. But I didn't see this early on with Gavin going back and forth between bats. You sent me that question to ask in the post game if given the opportunity, and I kind of did it as an opportunity to kind of get a laugh, but also kind of get a moment that was light, not so serious, right? As I said, this is a question for the people. You should. I don't know if you watched the post game yet, but did you see Coach Ford's eyes when I started to ask that? Oh gosh, Andrew has completely dropped. My God, where did he go? Andrew done died out. But anyway, I was asking that question, and Coach Forbes' eyes just started to get bigger as he wasn't so sure what I was going to ask. And here's Andrew back with me. Andrew, have you seen that post? Me asking that post game question?
Yeah, and I loved Forbes' answer. He laughed and he said, I like the story he told about. But he said you got to ask Gavin.
Yeah, but did you see how his eyes got so big in that moment when I was asking him that question? As I think he was a little nervous about what I was going to ask.
Oh yeah, because the way you started it, you were like, the world's wanting to know, which I thought was a fantastic kind of intro to the question. So kudos to you for that.
I know. So I tried to hurry up and actually get to the question, and so much build up, because he was like, I have no idea what this guy's about to ask me.
But I did like his little story. He said that after he got that single late, that he went in and gave Jason DeCaro a high five because he's the one who picked the bat for him. But Rev has talked about this quite a bit, and I think he's spot on. And I know I kind of cut out there for a minute, so y'all might have already talked about this. But I think Gavin's searching. I don't think he's comfortable fully at the plate right now. And so this is a guy that is hoping to get kind of on a hot streak with a particular bat, maybe roll with that one. But anytime a guy is trying to find his groove and he's switching bats, you can definitely tell he's searching. And I think Forbes, said that without saying that last night. But I do like that story he told for sure.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, I hope you guys appreciate that breakdown of the statistics there from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players from post Lemoyne, post BC, post Georgia Tech. Shout out to Andrew. All the props goes to him, as I did online last night when Rev was like, "Great question, Chris." I was like, actually, that question was from Andrew. He texted
but
me.
Rev has been pushing me to ask that for a while now. So we got to give him some credit there too.
Yeah, I mean, I know you are responding back to him in DMs as we're all in a group. And I apologize, Rev. I don't respond that at all, really, in that group. I don't really get on Twitter messages that much because I'm just like, it's just so much, so much going on, right, in social media world. But anyway, all right, let's go ahead and jump on over. Let's go ahead and jump on over to our Duke overview history. Maybe I should just turn over our notes and just let everybody else just read them, and then we can hop them off, send them through email. But just kidding, that's a joke. Anyway, all right, let's hop in. Carolina takes on.
Yeah.
Are you there? Are you there, Andrew? Are you frozen?
Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you. All right, just making sure.
We good?
Yeah. Right, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I asked you 3 times. All right. All right, let's get into this. You know,
dude, I don't know. I feel like
what?
We good?
I'm good, bro.
Okay, I feel like we have one good week with my internet, and then the next week it's like glitchy. I don't know what the situation is. I gotta call T-Mobile about this.
Well, that's your problem. You're on T-Mobile.
Hey, it's like $60 a month.
Yeah, maybe you pay for what you get. No, I'm kidding. All right, let's get into this. Look, rivalry weekend. You like how I say that, as I am very country, but rivalry weekend. Carolina travels to Duke. I know a lot of people crap on their stadium, but they are making improvements. Head coach is 22-20 overall. Coach Corey.
Yep.
What you got, Andrew?
Yeah, Corey Muscara, like you said, 22-20. It's his first year at Duke. He comes in after Chris Pollard leaves and literally takes almost the entire Duke roster with him to Virginia. They've been up and down. You know, Duke, say 4 or 5 weeks ago, was a fringe tournament team. Now they're just trying to stay above 500. But Muscara is really well known for kind of his pitching acumen. He was the pitching coach at Maryland for 4 seasons. And then he went to Wake Forest, where he coached some fantastic pitchers. I mean, Wake, I think, over the last 4 or 5 years is right up there with Carolina with kind of the best pitching staffs. I mean, they had Chase Burns last year. Rhett Lauder is a Wake guy. So he coached some fantastic guys at Wake. I mean, they're just incredible.
Yeah, and that Burns kid was unreal.
D1 Baseball's assistant coach of the year in 2023. Yeah, Burns he's a transfer from Tennessee. He was incredible. But assistant coach of the year in 2023 when Wake's team ERA was 2.83. So Muscar is a solid coach, but he's really having to start from scratch and build Duke back up after they lost really almost everybody.
Yeah, got a comment here. How is the Duke game going to be a non-conference game?
So I looked into that, and they talked about it briefly on the game against High Point last night. That's kind of like, if you think bye weeks in football, almost like that's a bye week where Carolina doesn't really have in series. So what they said last night is they were wanting to get another non-conference game in, so they didn't have a ton of time off, and that they ended up just kind of scheduling Duke because they were right down the road. So it's kind of a midweek game, but it's non-conference, even though it's against a conference opponent. Got you.
And you froze there for a little bit, and then it like sped right back up. So I think you're back with me now. But anyway, all right. UNC head-to-head versus Duke. Since 1955, UNC is 150-48 against Duke, 66-23 away, 7-3 overall the last 10 meetings. Let's talk about the two teams last met in 2024 for a 3-game series at home in Chapel Hill at the Bosch. Last year, UNC took 2 to 3 games in that series, including an 8-7 win and 14 innings in Game 3. What a game that was against a rivalry. Going to 14 innings, Carolina gets to win 8-7 in Game 3 there. Duke this season is 22-20, 8-13 in ACC play, 18-8 at home, and currently 13th in the ACC. So Duke is taking a big slump in the standings compared to where they usually are, and that's to say that their head coach left. So I really think that Duke eventually is probably going to turn it back around with Muscara there. I mean, if he can attract the talent and get it turned around next year, I think that he'll be back on the path that Duke is pretty used to. But I mean, it's hard when your whole team leaves and goes and follows their coach to Virginia, and then Macon Winslow comes here, which I think has done a fantastic job in replacing Stevenson behind the plate. Hoping he's doing okay hope he's doing okay from his injury last night. I know he left the game early. Forbes did say that the x-rays came back negative to his left forearm. I think that was the bat that hit his forearm, but the x-rays came back negative. But as you know, in anything, things tend to get worse as time goes on in a situation like that. But Forbes talked about it. I'm sure they'll be dry needling it and doing what they can to get him ready for tomorrow, right? For tomorrow night.
Early start to the series.
Yep. So series win. They've had a series win versus Miami and Louisville, but they've also had series losses versus Notre Dame, at Virginia Tech, at Florida State, versus NC State, and at Boston College. So they've dropped a lot of series throughout this year in ACC play. Currently number 72 in the net with a 5-12 record in quad one games. This is a quad two opportunity for UNC, which we are not used to saying quad two beside Duke when it comes to baseball and really any sport, to be honest. But go ahead and take the team rank section, Andrew.
Yeah, Duke is not a team that is going to scare you offensively or with their pitching. They are 15th in the ACC in team batting average at 273, so they're near the bottom. 14th in hits, 13th in RBIs, 14th in OBP, and 14th in slugging percentage. So really, they're not dead last, but they're close in most offensive categories. Defensively, they have the second most errors in the ACC with 60, and their fielding percentage is the second worst in the ACC, while Carolina's is tops. So complete opposite of Carolina when it comes to defense. And then their staff ERA is 5.96. That ranks 11th in the ACC, and they've given up the third most walks and the fifth most home runs. And they also hit a lot of batters. So this is, again, we looked last week at Georgia Tech and going through their stats, it was like, man, everything scared you. Duke is the polar opposite. There's not much they do that scares you. They steal a lot of bases. They are first in the ACC with 123 stolen bases, and they have only been caught stealing about 15% of the time. But it kind of cancels out because they give up the most stolen bases. And in fact, last week against Boston College, I think it was game 1 against Duke, Boston College had 8 stolen bases in 1 inning and 14 in the game, which tied an NCAA record. So expect for this to be a series where Schaffner, Hull, French, Howe, any guys with speed on Carolina's team, even a guy like Gallagher, I think they're going to be stealing a lot of bases. So the one thing Duke does well, it kind of cancels out with their poor defense and their pitchers are slow to the plate, and then the catcher isn't great. He doesn't have the greatest arm. So it's a rivalry game, though, or a series. So no matter what, you look at the stats and you're like, this should be an easy series win for Carolina. Against a Duke, against a State, against an ECU, throw the record out the window, throw the stats out the window, anything can happen.
Yeah, good stuff, Andrew. Let's go ahead and talk about our key players that we think you should be looking out for when Carolina travels a short distance down the road to face Duke this weekend. First, right off the bat, we got utility player RJ Hamilton, which you can see we used his USA baseball shot from him. Changed it up a little bit. But, he leads Duke in batting average. So, you got to put the guy up there. If he leads the team in the batting average with a 319 and is second on the team in on base percentage. And look, this is no slight. It's baseball. Anything can happen this weekend. But I feel like it's saying a little bit when your highest batter compared to UNC's batting averages, as it stands right now, as we just talked about, Owen Hall hitting, what is it, 390 that we just talked about? Yeah, that we just talked about, multiple hitters over 300. But RJ Hamilton leading the team there with 319 on the year. Andrew, take that second part for me.
Yeah, 4 homers, 4 stolen bases. So he's got some speed, 6 doubles. He has 22 stolen bases. So he's top 5 in the ACC there. But again, Carolina has done a fantastic job this year against some other teams. It's still a lot of bases of holding runners on. Carolina's staff as a whole is pretty quick to the plate. You have a guy like Jackson Rose who has a fantastic pickoff move. So I'm not really too worried about the stolen bases. And like I said earlier, Duke struggles to hold runners on. So if we get into a matchup where they're stealing a lot of bases in the top of the inning, well, if we get guys on base, expect them to steal a lot in the bottom half of the inning too. So it kind of cancels out in the end.
Yeah, well, good. That's RJ Hamilton, utility player, which we hadn't mentioned yet. He's a Vanderbilt transfer. So good snag by them for the Duke staff there. Leads the team in average, like we said, with a 319. All right, let's go ahead and talk about our next one, Tyler Albright, which has a connection to Carolina, which is quite interesting. Great find there by Andrew, outfielder. Andrew, I'm just going to let you take this one. What you got?
Yeah, he is Duke's lone returning starting position player. He's the only guy who was in Duke's lineup last year. He started every game for Duke last year, but he's the only guy who is back. Everybody else either graduated or left. So I got to give him credit there for being loyal. So shout out to him for that in a day and age where loyalty is hard to come by in college sports. So he's still wearing the wrong color, the wrong name on his jersey, but kudos to him for sticking with it. Last year, he hit 298, had a 435 on-base percentage, has a little bit of power, 10 bombs, 45 RBIs last year. But this year, he's really struggled. He's only hitting 231. But he's still, even though he's hitting 231, he still leads Duke in on-base percentage at 456. So this is a guy that even though he's not getting a ton of hits, he's walking a lot. He's got 40 walks in the season, which is near the top. I think it's like top 5 or 6 in the ACC. So this is a guy that's going to find ways to get on base, even if it's not through the hit. And you alluded to this, but he is the nephew of former Tar Heel offensive tackle Ethan Albright. He's from Greensboro, and Albright was first team All ACC in 1993, and he went on to play 16 seasons in the NFL as a long snapper. Most of those seasons, Chris, came for at the time, Washington Redskins. So nice little fact right there.
Easy. You can't say that anymore. It's Washington Commanders.
Commanders. But when he played, they were not the Commanders. But yes, Washington Commanders. I think like 10 or 11 of his 16 years were with the Commanders. So yeah, nice little fact there. I was reading through Albright's bio. Like half his family went to Carolina and like half went to Duke. And he's got like a brother at Seton Hall. So a very split family for sure.
Got like one cousin that went to state. Just kidding. That's
probably does. I'm sure somewhere down or ECU or something like that.
Hey, look, half family went to Duke, half family went to Carolina. Smart family. Look, where are you going to get that type of information? I'm just saying. That's some in-depth knowledge right there, Andrew. Good job, man. I should put that on a graphic just for tomorrow. Like that's
I'll say this. I met Ethan Albright back in high school. He came and did we had a career day, and he came. I guess he had a table set up about what it's like being a long snapper in the NFL. So when I saw that Tyler Albright was from Greensboro, and I saw that he had the same last name as Ethan, who was also from Greensboro, I was like, let me Google this. There's got to be a connection here. And sure enough, they're related. So yeah.
So like you double check this. This is legit.
Yeah, I double checked. At first, when I first put it in the notes, I just assumed that was Ethan Albright's son. And so I had to go back in and double check. And I said, no, he's not his son. He's his nephew. So I corrected it. But yeah, it's a very athletic family. They've got, seems like almost every male and female in that family played D1 collegiate sports. So they got blessed with the genes.
Was Ethan at like a career fair or something?
Yeah, it was like my junior year of high school, and it was a career fair. And I'm trying to figure out why. I think at the time he was the athletics director at Grimsley High School, which is where my wife went. So shout out to the Grimsley Whirlies. I think that is the dumbest mascot in all of sports.
Hey man, good football teams.
Great football team. In fact, number one quarterback recruit in the country came from Grimsley this past year. But yeah, I think at the time he was like the AD at Grimsley. But yeah, I was kind of confused why a long snapper in the NFL was set up at a high school career fair. But hey, whatever floats your boat.
0.05% of their like people to reach out to are going to be there for long snapper in the NFL. Hard to do, but
yeah. Well, one other interesting fact about Ethan Albright is in Madden 07, he was the lowest rated player in the game. And ESPN did an article interviewing him about it. And he took it in stride. He seemed like, for me, if I'm the lowest rated player in Madden, I'm offended. But he seemed to take it in stride and have some fun with it. So kudos to him for handling that well.
Yeah. Tough job to like have to grade all those players. Definitely long snappers. Anyway, all right. Next one up is a right-hand pitcher. Of course, Andrew was got to get a pitcher in here. Duke's Sunday starter, but Andrew thinks this is potentially Duke's best pitcher on their staff as it relates to starters. Give me some of your thoughts behind that.
Yeah, Andy Leon, you look at the numbers, nothing really pops out at you. He's 2-2 on the season, 5.15 ERA. He does have 41 strikeouts to 18 walks, so his command is decent. 8.5 strikeouts per 9. He's had a very up and down season. This is a guy who will come out one start and look terrible, and then he'll come out the next week and you're like, man, where did this guy come from? And against, I think it was NC State, he goes 6 innings pitched, 1 earned run, only gives up 2 hits. But that was 2 weeks ago, and since then in his 2 starts, he's really struggled. So you don't really know what you're going to get with him on the mound, but I do think out of Duke's 3 weekend guys in their rotation, Leon is probably the best one.
Yeah, and I'll say it's somebody might should send a welfare check over to Rev Blev. It's been almost 20 minutes with no comment. Maybe he's gone. Yeah, he's gone quiet. So maybe he's gone to bed.
He did say that he's going to need some help staying awake. So maybe he tapped out on us.
He's a pastor, so I did say pray for some strength, brother.
Yeah.
Respond back.
Hey, Sunday's well, I guess it is Wednesday. So, but hey, Sunday's a long ways away. You got time to rest up before Sunday. Look, my dad's a pastor. I know how much work goes into it. So, hey, shout out to you because that's not an easy job.
All right, bracketology real quick, Andrew. What you got? D1 baseball has UNC at what as you take a sip of that Diet Coke?
Yeah, so I made these notes yesterday before D1 baseball released their most recent poll or bracket, but I didn't go back in and make a change. So it's kind of blank, but not kind of. It is blank. but D1 baseball has Carolina. I looked today as the number 4 overall seed. I think they have, just like Baseball America, could be wrong, but I think they have Arkansas in Carolina's bracket, who we saw in the Super Regionals back in, I think it was 2022. Mm-hmm. But Baseball America has UNC as the number 3 overall seed, with Arkansas as the 2 seed, Alabama Birmingham as the 3, and Binghamton as the 4. So I really do think that's a pretty favorable matchup for Carolina with all 3 of those teams.
Okay. Anything else before we transition over to softball?
No, let's run to softball. Let's do it.
All right. Well, softball currently sits at 31 and you okay? I must have like a lag or something because we definitely have a lag going on. Anyway, Carolina softball is currently sitting at 31 and now 15, unless you updated this. I don't have their schedule pulled up, but I believe they're 31 and 15 after.
Yeah, you're right.
After
15.
After tonight's loss to South Carolina, which went to 8 innings. So it went to extra innings. Tough game overall. Man, really had some bright spots. I believe they were up by 3 in the 6th. I can't recall completely, but I was there. Was planning to do post-game questions, but the game was, when it went to extras, I knew I wasn't going to be able to since, we had this at 9. But, man, just tough game overall. I mean, I think South Carolina got out to an early lead, but, I mean, Carolina's bats came alive. I mean, they scored, I think it was like 7 or 8 runs in 1 inning and just piled it on. But, unfortunately, they weren't able to hold on to that lead. Man, just a tough overall weekend down in Tallahassee. If you want a little bit more in depth about that and how that went, you can check out Coach's Corner with Coach Smith, which happens every Monday. I sat down with her for about 45 minutes and we talked about, that game, but we also previewed her Virginia Tech series, their Virginia Tech series coming up this weekend. And we also previewed the game that's taking place tonight and did our player spotlights. But, very briefly in game 1, UNC drops 4-8. They did have some opportunities in that game to battle back. Really proud of them that they didn't fold there early like they could have. But, UNC gave up 6 runs in the first 2 innings, which, is really hard to come back from. And, UNC fought back, but unfortunately, ultimately couldn't overcome the early deficit. After the 6 runs in the first 2 innings, they did only allow them to score 2 runs for the remainder of that game. So that is a positive. Unfortunately, it just seems like the story of the year so far, and Coach talks about this as well in our Coach's Corner show, which happens every Monday, is that it just seems like the pitching staff overall has really struggled against, good teams early on in games, and they tend to settle in a little bit too late. Like for example, tonight, Carmax, came in, she got the ball to start the game and just wasn't able to put it together early on and gave up runs. And she actually ended up coming back into the game late to try to close the deal, but was not able to make it happen. I think that game tonight ended in 16-14. In game two, UNC lost 1-6 there. This was a 2-1 ball game until the fifth inning when Florida State hit a 3-run home run. Unfortunately, UNC never really was able to get going offensively in that game. After that, they had just only 4 hits throughout the whole game, 4 walks as well. The only one was a really big shot there by Emily Leggett in the 3rd inning. Again, FSU only scored 2 runs in the 1st inning, leaving Carolina trying to claw back. Andrew, I'll let you take game 3. UNC loses 2-10.
Yeah, 2-10. It was a close game about halfway through, a little over halfway through. It was a 1-1 ball game mid 4th inning, but then bottom of the 4th, FSU busted it wide open. They score 6 runs in the 4th, and they add 3 in the 5th. And this is the 2nd game in a row where UNC's bats struggled. I didn't put this in the notes, but I think I remember reading somewhere that this was the 3rd game in a row where or 3rd game over the last 2 weeks or something where Carolina didn't hit a homer. So, no, I'm wrong. Because, no, I'm looking at it right here. Leggett hit her 24th homer. Somewhere along the line, they've struggled some hitting homers, which is not like this team. I mean, Carolina softball seems like every game's been hitting at least one. But one positive, Emily Leggett hit her 24th homer of the season. That tied a single-season program record with Kristen Brown, who did it back in 2015. And she also got her 70th RBI. And then I saw where tonight Emily Leggett took over first place. So Emily Leggett is in sole possession of most homers in a single season in Carolina softball history. As a team, against Florida State in Game 3, they hit their 92nd homer of the year, and that tied a program record. So they broke that record tonight as well. But, yeah, other than that, just a tough game.
Yeah, all in one swing, broke 2 records there by Emily Leggett.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of interesting that she was the one to break the record for the team and herself all in one swing. So I thought that was pretty cool. Bracketology currently for Carolina softball. Softball America has UNC as a 3 seed in the Norman Regional in Oklahoma. So that's a pretty tough.
They
are on the bubble.
They're kind of on the bubble. Yeah. This is a team that there's no question about it. This Virginia Tech series is the biggest series of the season. They really need to take 1 or 2 games against VT on the road and then maybe turn around and win a couple games in the ACC tournament to really feel comfortable. I don't think right now they're on the outside looking in. If the season ended today, I would be comfortable that they're still going to get in. But if they get swept this weekend, they could be facing, it's time to sweat. So win 1 or 2 against VT, have a good showing in the ACC tournament, and you can kind of breathe easy come selection day.
Yeah, and Virginia Tech's another tough series. I mean, back-to-back tough series.
This last third of the season's brutal.
Yeah. Virginia Tech this weekend, I am going to be there for Saturday and Sunday, planning to cover the game there Saturday and Sunday. My wife and kiddo are going to be going with me, so that's going to be a fun time. And hoping for some better weather on Saturday, at least. It's looking pretty rough on Saturday, but we are going to make the trip up to Blacksburg Saturday morning. I believe that game on Saturday is at 3:00. I believe we don't have it in our notes, but again, congrats to the team as a whole and Emily Leggett for breaking that record in one swing. And so unfortunately, they just weren't able to put it together tonight to hold it together, I should say, to win that game. Yes, Rev says, side note, Blacksburg is beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes, very beautiful. Last time I was there, I believe I was like a freshman or sophomore in college or senior year of high school. I can't remember. Sometime during that time frame, I was there for a Carolina football game versus Virginia Tech, and it was a night game. And I will say this: if you have never experienced Enter Sandman at Virginia Tech, you need to do it.
Fantastic.
It is unbelievable. So
I've been 3 times. Yeah, I've been 3 times all for football. I was there when Chaz Surratt started and he broke his wrist. That was an awful game. I was there for the 6 overtime loss. That was a heartbreaker. And then I was there for the first game with fans post COVID. And that
you
was
were at that
absolute
game.
Oh, dude, it was Carolina lost, so I hated it, but it was electric. I remember fans were so amped up that they had like students scanning tickets. And I remember everybody was just kind of pushing forward. And finally, the ticket lady in our section just backed up. She's like, I can't do this anymore. And so fans were just running in without their tickets getting scanned. But man, Blacksburg is beautiful, great for football. I like to give them a hard time because they've never won a title in anything. But it is definitely a fantastic college town.
Nice little slide in there, Andrew. But look, I will close with this tonight, just to kind of give you a recap of some of the episodes that are out there. Tomorrow are going to be about to be out there. Tomorrow, you'll be able to catch this episode on Spotify tomorrow morning. But Jeff and I are sitting down during the day. Also, Rev says Mets finally won, though, Andrew. So
they lost 12 straight. Yeah.
Yep. And Boston, my team, is getting worked over by the Yankees for 2 games in a row. But anyway, back to what I was talking about. Tomorrow, Jeff Blackwood and I are sitting down for our first episode of Olympics, covering Olympic sports. That's going to be going live tomorrow night. It's going to be 2 episodes back to back. So we will record that early in the day, and then we will release it as a pre-recorded live tomorrow night, probably around 7 o'clock. I haven't set that time yet, but pretty sure it's going to be at 7. And then at 8:30, we'll be back on for Heels on the Hardwood, talking Carolina basketball, talking about the transfer gets that we've gotten, which have a lot in one day, which was 3. I believe it was 3 in one day. So we'll be sitting down with Jaden and Troy for that, which is going to be awesome. And then on Sunday, Inside the Dugout with Shelby Barbie. It was an awesome one. It was actually recorded inside the dugout, which was kind of cool. And I was even strategic, had her nameplate by her batter area, by her locker area, or whatever it's called, inside the dugout. But has her name right there between us. And we actually had a massive fire ant crawl in between us and during the interview. So we were able to swat that out. It was kind of a funny moment. But that's going off at 7 o'clock on Sunday. And then at 9 o'clock, it will be the debut episode of Air It Out with Bryn Renner. Definitely tune in for both of those. It's going to be a heck of a week for Heels on Franklin. Air It Out with Bryn Renner is going to be an episode that's going to be recorded in person on Friday, and it will be released as a pre-recorded live on Sunday night at 9 o'clock. So, look, be sure to tap in wherever you are. Rev says, don't tweet at pre-recorded lives. Michael.
Rev, is that your real name? Are you talking to yourself here?
He'll be talking to himself throughout that whole episode. Hey, look, Doug, Heels on the Hardwood tomorrow night at 8:30 will be actually live. Yeah.
Hey, I'll say this, and not to hype us up as a group, but Chris, you especially, because you're the one, you're the constant denominator in all these. You're with all these shows, but no one's putting in the work. You especially, but our team's putting in. I mean, I don't want to hype us up too much, but again, where are you getting this type of coverage? So shout out to the team. I'm excited for Jeff's show tomorrow. I'm excited for to hear Jaden some more and Troy and you. And then I'm definitely excited for Air It Out with Bryn Renner. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, that's going to be a really good show coming to the lineup. Some really good, Bryn as a former quarterback, and then also with the things that he still does at Carolina. He's also already talked about it online, so it is public. He's moving back to Chapel Hill. He's in Chapel Hill right now. He's bought a house, him and his fiance. So it's good to have them back in the glory land of Chapel Hill. All right, let's get out of here, Andrew. Look, we appreciate everybody tapping in tonight. I think this has potentially been our shortest episode. So, Rev, give us some credit there at 1 hour and 12 minutes. I think we did a good job, but still in about the same time in the night because we started 30 minutes late. So we appreciate everybody dealing with the time change. We just really felt like we had to get out there to support Carolina softball tonight in person as it was their last home game. We appreciate everybody tapping in. As always, subscribe on YouTube. No. I am not there. Subscribe on YouTube. We just passed 1,500 subscribers on YouTube. So shout out to all you guys and ladies and whoever has subscribed to YouTube. We really appreciate it. And then also follow on Spotify and leave a review if it's a good one. If not, don't worry about it. But anyway, let's get out of here, Andrew. I appreciate all the work that you put into this. I thank you for everybody. 180. It was at 189. I was about to say that. Now it's at 188. So I appreciate all 188 people that have tapped in with us tonight. Until next time, go Heels.
Thank you for listening to Heels on the Diamond, presented by Heels on Franklin. If this episode hit the mark, do us a favor. Like it, drop a comment, and share it with a friend. That kind of support keeps the podcast rolling. You can find all episodes on the Heels on Franklin YouTube channel and on Spotify. So whether you like watching or listening, we've got you covered. We will see you next time.